Hello, Trekkies and Trekkers. Welcome to this amazing Star Trek podcast on Trek Tuesday. I'm your host, Dorinda, and I recap every 2 weeks an episode of Star Trek TNG. Today we recap the episode The Deflector. But first, a note of the host of this podcast. Because of the passing of Amanda, I am looking for a Star Trek friend who wants and has the time to recap every 2 weeks an episode of Star Trek with me. That also means I have decided to rename the podcast because Girls Talking Trek was from me and her. The podcast will now only be available on YouTube or the Facebook group. If you are interested, please contact me. I would appreciate it if you like this video, subscribe to the channel and share it with your friends and family. And now for the plot of the episode. The episode begins with Data exploring the human condition by acting in a production of Shakespeare Henry V. Count Picard is giving Data some constructive criticism when he is notified by Commander Riker that a Romulan scout vessel is being pursued in the neutral zone. The scout vessel is under attack by a Romulan warbird and they are approaching Federation space. The Enterprise moves to intercept the ship, causing the warbird to cloak and return to Romulan space. The occupant of the ship is brought aboard the Enterprise and claims he is Sub-Lieutenant Settle, an insignificant logistics clerk seeking to defend to the Federation after coming across information about a secret Romulan installation on the planet Nelvana 3, which in the neutral zone that could sustain a large Romulan fleet. Picard and his crew are skeptical of Settle's claims after he refused to provide evidence, and Picard ordered an investigation of Settle's reliability while the Federation realized to the Enterprise the Romulans are seeking Settle's return. After Settle's ship auto-destruct, the crew review the records of Settle's arrival and believe the Romulans arranged Settle's as part of an elaborate hoax. Picard refuses to enter the neutral zone on the baseless claims. Settle confines to Data his defection came at a heavy price. He will never see Romulus or his family. Data attempts to elevate Settle's feelings by taking him to an holodeck representation of Romulus. Settle dismisses the hologram, then reveals he is Admiral Jarok, a high-ranking officer who led a victorious campaign against several Federation outposts near the neutral zone. Jarok again beseeched Picard to investigate Nelvana 3, but Picard refused and demands either Jarok provide information or he will be deemed a traitor. Jarok gives in to Picard's request and gives detailed tactical information to Picard. Picard orders the Enterprise to Nelvana 3. After they arrive, the crew find the planet barren with no evidence of any installation, to Jarok's surprise. Unexpectedly, 2 Romulan warboats decloak and fire upon the Enterprise. Picard realizes Jarok was used as a pawn by the Romulans, feeding him this information to lure the Federation into the neutral zone while disgracing Jarok. In response to Romulan Commander Tomalak's demands for the Enterprise surrender, Picard refused to prepare for this. At his command, 3 birds of prey sent by the Klingon Empire at Picard's request, as related by Worf, decloaked and surround the warbirds, rendering the situation as stalemate. The Romulan recloak and retreat, allowing the Enterprise to leave. After the Enterprise left the neutral zone, the crew discovered Jarrok committed suicide, leaving behind a note for his family. While Data notes relations with the Empire makes delivery of the letter impossible, Picard states that as long as there are Romulans with Admiral Jarrok's courage and conviction, it may, one day, be possible to deliver Jarrok's letter home. So the first scene is the scene on the holodeck with Data and Picard. And Picard also played one of the Old English people. And I think we can see how, once again, Patrick Stewart is so linked and connected with the Old English literature of, for example, Shakespeare, Henry VIII, Charles Dickens, etc. I do must say that Data looks very funny with a wig and that medieval clothing, and we also see this Romulan and a Romulan scout ship being attacked by Romulan warbirds that but they were also in the neutral zone, and that's always the big problem with it, I think. And yeah, so but I was thinking, and guys, you can answer me that in the comment section. Isn't that Admiral Jarrok also not? Isn't he playing the father of Sela? Because that's what I thought, and because also the first time when we are seeing this, I thought it was the episode with Jarrok and Jala. But that will still be coming, I guess. But this episode was quite, I don't want to say amusing, but it is, I think it is a good episode. And we see a lot of factors that could bring war, just because they are in the neutral zone, etc. And also the betrayal and the cunningness of the Romulan. And I always have said it before in a few episodes before, when we just met Tamarak, Commander Tamarak. I never liked him. I don't like him. And it's also in the way of this. Just see what common Romulan behavior, and we often say that the Romulans are, in fact, brothers of the Vulcans. But I never have seen a Vulcan be like a Romulan, So he is named First Salet, and he is a low tactical cleric. But right away you can see that he is more diplomatic than anyone else, and he knows things, And he was saying, well, this and this is happening, and so the Romulan fleet is coming your way. We need to stop this war. And I don't know if I've said it before, but Salad is, for a Romulan, very diplomatic, too diplomatic, and he's exactly anxious. And I don't know what it is. You can see that he is more noticeable than he is saying. And we will see later that he is one of the most highest officer, like an admiral from Romulus. And and maybe I have said it before, I don't know, but Romulans can be very cunning, and it reminds, every time we see a situation of this, it reminds me of Slytherin. And I think that is why we don't like Romulan, because they have this allure about them that I don't want to say that they think they are above us, but more like they are not likable. It reminds me also a bit of, and I'm going to compare it a bit with it, but like with the Gorn. The Gorn aren't also likable. It's just, yeah. So we see that after Salad has given them the information what he wants to give, you see that Picard and Riker are very skeptical. And I think that would be genuine, because you never know. It's also the neutral zone. So that happened. But there was something of when Worf took him to the sick bay, and Dr. Crusher was healing him, and he said something in the line of, a bit of Romulan healing or remedies. And so Worf was very, very suspicious of him, because he was saying that, and then Sato answered, well, it is just common knowledge what happened, and what happened to the Romulans, etc. there. And, well, it was still that I was thinking, he knows too much as just being a tactical cleric. So, what is going on, And Salad was very rude to Worf, and he provoked Worf. And then Riker was coming in defense of Worf and told him to prepare a quarter for him. And after Worf was leaving sick bay and was out of hearing range, Sato chuckled. And Riker was right away, why are you finding that so amusing? And Sato answered, well, I do like Worf. He has it's the same people like I am, what I am, what I used to. And so, meanwhile, Starfleet message, Picard, of course, in secrecy. And, well, there was this, and there was confirmation, and I don't know, I think what I have seen in this episode of Picard is that he was too much in his own thoughts. He didn't react, react more like show his feelings really about the situation. And then they were discussing the data of the Romulan ship, and Geordi wanted to have a better look at it, but it blowed up. So Salah told him, well, I did an auto-destruct sequence, so nobody can have my ship and the data, etc., etc. But when they were discussing that data, that was Picard data, Crusher, and LaForge. Why was Dr. Crusher there? Why was she on the bridge? Normally she used to be in the sick bay and taking care of one of our more. And why was she discussing that with them and the data? That didn't make any sense to me. So they launched another special probe to scan Nellavana 3, and because said, well, I need you to make records of all about this data because I need your objectivity of the situation and whatever else more. And this was not the first time. And it, once again, and Amanda and I have talked about that a lot, that Data was the one, although he was an android, he was more clear in his being and being more human than we human would react, etc. And I think that's what we love about Data, and especially when you see the Data in Picard season 3, that it's so, like I said to her too, to Amanda, it reminded me of the movie with Robin Williams, that he was a robot but he transformed himself into a human. And I think that is one of the ways of things that we love Data that much, because he is that mirror of us humanity. So after all that, once again Picard got a few more secret messages of Starfleet with orders, etc. And Riker and Troy, well, no. First he was quoting some English literature. I don't remember. I don't know if it's from Shakespeare or another great writer. I don't know. But you could see once again the connection of Patrick Stewart with the English culture and the English literature. What we know all about him, that when he is on stage, he is that person, and he is also doing that as Picard. And it is just nice to see how he is so, he could be someone who actually lived in that time, and it always makes me smile, because when you watch the Christmas Carol movie, that he is playing Scrooge, it's just so him, I think, and it suits him well. So then we see Riker and Troy interrogating Saylet, and they pressure him very much for information, etc. And I don't know what you think about this, because he is just, I don't know what to think about him, He is so double, I don't know, he's got some kind of a double personality. So then we see we're going to the engineering, and we're seeing Jordy and Data having a conversation about gut feelings and facts and etc., and what makes you human, because Data always want to learn how to be human. And so that was a very interesting conversation, I think, and especially because they don't wanted to know and probably also experience what it is to be human, but also why do people are so indifferent. And well, they had a great talk about that, and Jordy was explaining what the gut feeling is and blah blah blah. But once again, we see what kind of a great friendship those two have, and I think, and you see that even in Star Trek Picard 3, Data and Jordy has this deep connection. So then we see Data in 10 Forward, and he was observing Satel. And so that also was a nice conversation, and I was thinking, okay, Satel, what person are you? And there was still something that wasn't right with him, but the conversation ended up okay. I'm gonna miss my family, and gonna miss Romulus because the action I take, etc., etc. So but it was a nice conversation, and Data bring him to the holodeck and shows him some kind of place of Romulus that Satel is very well known with. And then he reveals that he isn't Satel as in a low tactical clerk, but he is Admiral Jarok. And Jarok says, give me a talk with your captain, briefing with your captain, because I have information. And even in this conversation, we see that Admiral Jarok was very persistent, but didn't tell them anything what they really needed to know. And meanwhile, Shamuk had a secret message of Starfleet confirming the identity of Admiral Jarok, and say, well, you don't know, he is very unreliable, and you have to be careful in what information he gives you. So Picard was convincing him that he needs to know what he needs to know, and he also told him, well, in their eyes you are a traitor, etc., etc. So what do you want to do? Do you want to stop this uncommon war, or do you want to have secrets and we can't do anything, etc., etc.? So eventually Jarok tells Picard, and he tells his second senior crew, of course. And so they set course to Nirvana 3. And when they are there was no outpost, no Federation outpost. And even Jorok was very surprised. So the feeling I really got right away was, is Jorok deceptive or what? And then when Picard wanted to leave, or the Enterprise wanted to leave, two Romulan warbirds, they cloaked. But Picard was very smart, and while he was consulting his second or senior staff, he also contacted the Klingons, because the Klingons could be faster than the Federation itself, because they were further away, and in that time already the Klingon War was over, and there was a treaty between the Klingons. So because Mr. Worf was a Klingon and was also kind of an ambassador for between the Federation and the Klingons, they got aid, but they were cloaked and they couldn't see them. So the Romulans were attacking the Enterprise, but it wasn't that severe. It was more like a warning shot or whatever. And then they hailed the Enterprise, and we see Tomarak. And Tomarak, of course, was in that episode that one of the Romulan shuttles had crashed down on this planet, and Geordi was practically blind there, and that Romulan soldier was injured, etc., etc. And I never liked the guy. I never, ever, since the first time he come into screenshot or on the screen, I never, ever liked him. And, that is with a lot of Romulans that I have seen and dealt with, and I'd say dealt with because they also are like in Star Trek Online. So when I am a Romulan or when I encounter a Romulans, it's the same damn thing, and it's all for the Star Empire. And I don't know, I really don't like those Romulans. Raymond's can be okay, but also like the Vulcans are just more my favorite. And so that was the first thing what Tomarak did, was provoking Picard with, well, you are here and you are on our side of the neutral zone, and this is going to be a war, blah 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 blah. And Tomarak was very pleased. You could see his smirking all the way. And that was the moment also that Jarok and Picard knew that they tricked them. They tricked them into the neutral zone to get a war. So Tomarak said, like in a very arrogant way of, okay, you first going to deliver us Tomarak the traitor, and then the Enterprise and the Enterprise crew will be a prisoner of war, and blah 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 blah. And he'd been provoking and provoking and provoking. What was really stupid of him, because of course Picard had a thingy behind his hand of on his sleeve like the Klingons. So there was still more threats, and then Picard said, okay, if you really want to have a fight, fine, meet my friends. So at that point the Klingons decloaked, and there were 3 Klingon ships that were surrounding the Romulans. right here, and I would notice right away it was these the Klingon Klingon team of I think it was the Wrath of Khan, or it was no, that was just was that a motion picture, or was it in the Search of Spock? I can't remember which movie again, with all the Klingon sounds of cruising and shooting and whatever. But that was the right away the sound that I recognized. So in the end, we see that Jarok has committed suicide because of his situation. He can't go to the Federation. He lost his family. He lost Romulans because of what he had done. So there was only one thing to do, and he committed suicide. And he had wrote a letter to his wife. Now, of course, we see that. It's just I did like this episode. It was for once not that difficult with 2 or 3 or multiple storylines. This was just one storyline and you could follow it. The only thing I would have liked to see was that it had a bit more background information about the neutral zone and what the war was, etc, etc, etc. So if you look at the rating on IMDb, that is a 8.4, and I must say it's close. I would give it something like that too. Let me know, guys, what you rate this episode, because would you give it some kind in the near range of 8.4? Let me know. I like to know, and I like to know what you think of this episode, the deflector. This is my recap, and like I said, I still looking for a Trekkie who has the time and want to do every 2 weeks a recap of, at the moment, Star Trek The Next Generation Season 3. Let me know, and hopefully I can do it with another person again who loves Trek as much as I do, and we can continue this podcast in honor of Amanda and do it in a way that it is new but also not new, and I'm looking forward to it. Thank you guys for listening, and join me in 2 weeks for a new episode recap. In the next episode we will recap the episode The Hunted. I also like you to take a look and listen to my 2 other podcasts, namely Maya Eileen Talks, where I talk a lot of Star Trek, and the Dutch Ready Room podcast, which is a video podcast in my native language, Dutch. You can find both podcasts on YouTube and Facebook. The Maya Eileen Talks podcast is also to find on Spotify, Anchors, Google Podcast, and Amazon Music. I will see you in 2 weeks. Live long and prosper.